Welcome to the Small Biz Rescue podcast, where we deep dive into the heart of entrepreneurship. Toolbox in hand, ready to fix and have your business flourish. From practical, immediate steps to success stories from normal people that can inspire you. We are here to untangle the fears, simplify the process, and show you that business mastery is within reach. Whether you're starting fresh or turning the tide on an existing venture, we are your allies in eradicating entrepreneurial enslavement. Let's roll up the sleeves, make business freedom your reality, one episode at a time. You're not alone. Let's rescue your business together. Woo! What's up, guys? This is our inaugural podcast for Small Biz Rescue, and I have a guest on today that is epic. I hope he knocks your socks off. Before he introduces himself, I'm going to tell you this. I started Googling how to save a failing business back in late 2017, early 2018. And this guy had free content online. And he has changed not only my life. I would not be retired today. I would not have a successful 12 businesses that I'm operating right now if it weren't for him and his free information. And he is one of my dear friends and mentors, Mr. Paul Akers. So, Paul, welcome to the show.
No, you're so cool. Thanks, you. You're awesome. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, I mean, this is really targeted at someone who, one, if they already know you, that's great. But for someone who's just starting out, either A, they're like really, really frustrated because their business, right? Small Biz Rescue. That's how I started. Oh my gosh. I'm in a company that is a sinking ship. It's sinking slowly. We have a lot of runway or a little runway, but it's definitely, so starting kind of there. I mean, that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, tell us what kind of got you all started on everything, Paul?
Oh, wanting to help people, seeing a need and filling the need, somebody saying, hey, can you cut my lawn when I was 11 years old? And I got a pair of hand shears and started doing the edges. We have weed whackers now and just doing with my hand shears and then a push lawnmower. And that's what I started, just filling a need. Somebody needed me to do something, and I did.
As an entrepreneur.
I made
so
myself
you were always
useful.
an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Kind of, even from a young age.
I was certainly wired towards pleasing people. I think that would be the best thing that really solidifies what an entrepreneur is in my mind. I wanted to please people. I wanted to help people. And so that's what got me going. My neighbor needed help. I helped them. I got satisfaction from helping them because they appreciated the good work I did. And they also paid me and compensated me for it. So it was easy. It was natural.
That's awesome. And so flash forward, later on in life, you wrote a book called 2 Second Lean, and it's available for free online. Go check it out. It's linked in the description below. And you were an entrepreneur. You were running a business. And in the very beginning of the book, you tell this story about how you thought you were awesome. And then something happened. And, two snot-nosed, wet behind the ears kids who didn't know anything showed up. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Right. Well, it wasn't just that I thought I was successful. By every measurement, anybody would have said I was not successful, but wildly successful. I was making over $1 million a year, and it was a pretty young startup, and everybody wanted to join the company, and things were going great. I was just having problems managing inventory, and I went to the local university and I didn't have an MBA. I didn't have a degree in business or anything. My degree is in education, and I was importing raw materials from all over the world, and it was difficult to manage the technical side of the business, particularly the inventory. I went to the university. They said you could hire this consultant. I brought this consultant in. He said, well, what you need to do is learn lean manufacturing. And I said, how do I learn? He says, you hire these two young snot-nosed kids. They didn't really say that, but he hired these two kids. They came in and looked at my place. They told me I didn't know what I was doing. And I said, okay, teach me. And that's the story. That's exactly what happened.
And you had, and this is crazy. So here you are. And I think before that happened, the week before, you were talking to a bank, right? And the president of the bank came to your place and they saw sheets of inventory and it was beautiful and well lit, I believe, tags everywhere. And then all of a sudden these guys come in and they say, you don't even know what you're doing. You have no idea what to do.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that particular story that you're saying is, there are certain things in life where you can take yourself back and you can visualize the whole thing in living color. Well, the president of the bank came and leaned against one of my machines in my production areas, the area that I had set up, and he said, "I've never been in a company more efficiently run and well organized than this." The exact words, I can remember, visualize his face, what he looked like, his older guy, bald hair, glasses, the whole 9 yards, a business suit. "I would loan you any amount of money you wanted." He was giving me a $250,000 line of credit. And the week later, these two kids from Japan walked in and said, "You're basically a piece and you don't even know what you're doing." Yeah. It's really, the contrast was significant.
So why did you listen to that? Why did you listen to him? What was the pivot point? If you were successful, you had this business, you had a banker coming in, which, for those of you who, some of us listening have experience with banks, they're very strict, and they're giving you the thumbs up and green light.
Very, very strict, very strict.
So that you basically had
especially with small
$250,000 to say, "Hey, do whatever you need. We'll fund it." Mm-hmm. Why would you listen?
Why would I listen to the young kids, right, from Japan? Hugh, I'm really glad you asked the question, because that's actually the subject of something I'm working on right now with Nino. And Nino, you turned me on to Nino in the Philippines, who helps do some of my video editing. And I'm going to tell you exactly the reason why. Because I have determined, after being 63 years of age, why the Japanese are so successful what they're doing. And I'm going to always try to keep every answer very pithy and short. So this is what it is. Number one, the Japanese wanted to survive after Perry came ashore in 1852 and basically said, "Open up the country. If you don't open it up, we're going to probably colonize you. You're not going to survive, because if we don't colonize you, somebody is." So the Japanese were faced with survival. Then they were enlightened. They were enlightened by Western principles. They started opening up the country and they developed, and then they practiced. So three things: survival, enlightenment, and then practice for what they learned. So why did I listen? Because I wasn't in a survival mode. This is the interesting thing. So most of us are not in a survival mode. But what I was in was, I was disgusted. I was in a disgusted mode. I was disgusted with myself. I was disgusted and unsatisfied with the way my company ran. I was frustrated as hell. So that I replaced the word survival for people in the 21st century like you and I, who can go to the grocery store and buy anything we want. Nobody's trying to kill us or anything like that, right, for the most part. So you're either deeply unsatisfied or disgusted with yourself. Then you become enlightened. I became enlightened. They told me what I was doing wrong. Holy crap. And then I started practicing it. And was the transformation that happened in my life. So the answer to your question, in short, was I was deeply unsatisfied. I was disgusted with the way my company was running, even though it appeared to be running well. And that disgustedness made me want to listen to them. I'm sorry that was a little
No, that's incredible. So is there one word, I know you harp on this in your book a lot, is there one word that encompasses the first thing? Maybe not all of it, but one word that encompasses what you were, why you were able to listen.
Well, I would think, there's several words that we could pull out right there. One, a little humble. I didn't think too much of myself, even though I was very successful. I never looked at myself as successful. I always looked at myself as the dumb kid. I was the D&C student. So I was kind of predisposed to always kind of feeling a little inferior. So that was natural. So a little bit of humility, even though, you wouldn't look at me and say I'm an overly humble guy, but I didn't feel like I was the best. That was one. And the other thing was deeply curious about what could possibly be if I learned
That's
something
awesome.
new. Those would be the two ones. What do you think of that? Is that what you're
That's exactly what was it, because that was the main thing that, you end up instilling and imparting to us. I mean, in your book, it was, and I started reaching out to you immediately, because then your book was like, reach out to me. If I'm alive, I'll respond probably. And I did. And it was the fact that you were humble, right? You were on top of your game, if you will, right? You're never satisfied, but you were humble enough to listen. And I think if you go back to, there's a book out there, if you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. It's called Good to Great with Jim Collins, or
Right. The best
And he talks about level 5 leadership and the ability to listen and to be humble. And I don't think I even read it back then, but I
right.
listened to you through a book. I didn't actually know you. And you're like, just try it. Just do something. Now, you actually helped me out early on. What was it about me or the way I operated that made you, one, respond, and then two, that impressed you enough to actually fly out to China and help us out?
Well, two things. One is, number one, you had passion in your voice. You were like, not like, hey, Paul, do you think maybe I could do this? Hey, I need this. I'm really having struggles. Is there any way you can help me? Oh, this guy's got some passion. So that immediately got my attention. And you were deeply curious. You were curious, what would happen if I did this? And I thought, gosh, if he's really curious, and I love a challenge, and there was a big factory, the factory you were running, your mom's factory is a huge factory in China with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees. And I happened to be in Japan at the time, so it was easy for me to swing over there real quick on the weekend. And I like surprising people. I like doing things that people don't expect me to do. You call me on the phone, next weekend I'm in China. I think it was pretty quick.
You didn't even let us pay for the flight.
But it was pretty quick. Yeah. No. I don't do things for money. I do things for the satisfaction of seeing people grow and seeing a smile on people's face. So that's why.
That's huge. Yeah. I think we were one of the first, for possibly the first 2-second lean company in China. Of course, lean was there. It was fake. For those of you have never heard the term, Paul, what is lean? I know
Lean is making your life better every day, making your life better. Improving the quality of your life every day. And really, that's what we do. And that's why I'm so jacked about it. And then if you want to know the technical term, it's the elimination of waste through continuous improvement.
So there's this guy, he is, on fire about this. He happened to be in Japan. I didn't know at the time. He came over, and then Paul took lean, which is continuous improvement, elimination of waste through continuous improvement. Yeah. But then he applied lean to the standard definition. He created 2-second lean. Can you tell the listeners kind of what that is? I have an answer. I think I have an answer. It's part of the basis of Small Biz Rescue. But what did you do to it?
It's easy. Yeah, well, simply, if you read The Toyota Way by Jeffrey Liker, most people read that book, and it's an amazing book, and Jeffrey Liker's a friend of mine, but it's overwhelming. It's just like, what the hell? Where do I start? This is crazy, right? So I just said, I didn't know where to start with Jeffrey Liker's book. It was just too much. So I looked at really what was happening. I'd been to Japan twice at this point, and I really looked hard at what Japan was really doing, and particularly what Toyota was doing. And I realized all they're doing is they've identified these 8 different kinds of waste, and they're just systematically eliminating that in all the processes that they're doing every day. So I said, well, if they're just eliminating waste, and I want my people to eliminate waste, and they're not going to get into the technical side of what Jeffrey Liker's talking about in Toyota Way, just make a simple improvement every day that saves maybe 2 seconds. In other words, making it so small it's unbelievable that anybody could reach the level. And all you have to do is rinse and repeat that every day. Every day, 2 seconds. That's all I want you to do. Remove 2 seconds of waste out of your life. That's it. So that's all I said. So we did
Set the bar so low, everyone can do it. And then you led from the front. You were the best. Or you fail, and I try to fail 50 to 60 times a day as best as I can. And there was a good quote from Elon Musk I just recently heard, and we actually adopted it as one of our core company principles. And it's basically, if you're not failing, you're not trying.
No, and Elon Musk is just so amazing. I get so much from him. Everything that comes out of that guy's mouth is almost gold.
Absolutely. So you come over, you help out, and I was one of the first people in China that was doing 2-second lean. It was there in a fake form, the Six Sigma way. The Chinese, the people are trained from a very young age to obey and not to think. And 2-second lean says you're not allowed to do that. You have to think. Whatever you do, you're going to come up with an idea, and you're going to be responsible for it. And because of Paul, I ended up creating the largest continuous morning meeting, I think still to this day, which was 350 workers.
Crazy.
I reached out to Paul after
Unbelievable. And I was there. And
I
saw it.
There's videos on to my YouTube channel, 350 person morning meeting.
amazing.
But with that, I had already tried a lot of the stuff in the book and then said, Paul, you said do this. I did that and I'm still having trouble. Can you help? And so I had already accomplished more success than a lot of people who reach out to you even today, probably. What's the difference between what I did and them? Like, I'm not trying to pat my own back. I'm saying, what is the difference?
No. Well, the difference is always leadership. And I talk about that in the last chapter of my books. What lean is leadership excellence. And so you led with your heart and you led with passion. And this is something a lot of leaders don't do. They're afraid to be vulnerable. And in order to do this, you jumped into the deep end immediately, passionately to try this, regardless of whether or not you'd fail or how foolish you would look. See, most people are afraid of looking a little foolish and failing. You didn't have any inhibitions whatsoever regarding that. And so that was it. It was leadership. It was passion. It was your unabiding lack of fear to look foolish.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul. That's awesome.
That's my opinion. What do you think?
I think I just tried it, right? The secret is...
Yeah. Well, remember what I said. Enlightenment,
right.
Practice. Right? I said disgusted, enlightenment, practice. The formula is so obvious.
Well, and it was the enlightenment, right? So it was, you said that in the book, I think it's chapter 7, smart people refuse to believe. There's a quote by the leader of Hops.
It could be real simple.
Lean and simple.
Right.
The leader of Hawks says, smart people refuse to believe how simple it is. And I was like, well, I'm a D student. Right. I graduated college because I was forced myself to work harder and barely got by, D for diploma. And the short answer is I didn't know anybody else. And so I don't think I was infected with this lean culture. Oh, woe is me, and it's so difficult. I was too stupid, in my opinion. I was too stupid to know any better. And so Paul said, hey, have a meeting. So figure it out. And I was like, okay, well, let's begin. Oh, well, no one can hear. Well, let's get speakers. People can't use the computer because they've never used computers.
Where most people, Hugh, would have thought to themselves, they would have overanalyzed it and thought of all the reasons why it won't work and what happens if it doesn't work. You just said, okay, let's do it. And there you go.
Yeah.
That was it.
I think, going back, when you heard what I had already done before I reached out for help, that's when I think that was curiosity on your side that was like, what's going on? And the fundamental was, like you said, it's not anything that I did that's special. It's that I just did something, just took action, taking imperfect action.
It's Tony Robbins, massive action. He talks about that. Just you have to take action.
Actually, it's funny. I want to disagree with you because I'm going to apply a 2-second lean principle to what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think it's take massive action. I think it's just taking some small action.
Okay.
Get in the right.
Right.
Yeah. Take a small action every day in the right direction. Take massive action. Burn the boats. Tell them when they leave you, hey, don't do that. Don't go back. You're going to implode your company.
And that's right. Don't go back with your hair on fire is what I tell people. You have to do this consistently every day rather than going back. Our company's so good, we got to tear it all down. No, I don't recommend
Which is
that.
my problem with the word take.
I mean, you can feel that. You can feel that inside. Just don't project that to your people. That might be a little overwhelming.
So, yeah. So, I mean, for me, okay. So we're going to get into about me. I'm using me as an example because I'm the most familiar with it.
Well, it's a good example, actually. It's a great example.
Yeah. And for me, I read the book. And for those of you that don't have any idea about China, so there's no internet in China. Or sorry, there is internet, but it's restricted. So there's no YouTube, there's no Google, there's no Gmail. So Paul has this hundreds of, probably 1,000 videos at that point of 2-second lean improvements. None of that's there. His book is not in Mandarin, so it's in English. I'm from the Midwest in Missouri, and here I go over to China, and it's an Eastern culture through a language barrier. And I just didn't make an excuse. He said, do it, so I'm going to try it. So through an Eastern culture, through a language barrier, I said, we're going to try this. I grabbed my managers together. I kind of let them know what's going on. I said, we're not going to be perfect at this. We're going to fail, but we're going this direction. You guys are going to come with me, or the door's right there. You can go work somewhere else that will pay you not to do what we ask.
Right.
In China, that was easy because they they obey, and what they'll do is they'll undermine you in a different way, right? They'll cause the machine to fail.
You know, I got a funny
do
thought.
it.
I'm getting off the track. You're going to kill me for this. Do you know you would be the perfect spy?
Why is that?
People don't know this about you. Hugh speaks fluent Mandarin, and you're from the Midwest with your handlebar mustache. Nobody would ever suspect you. You could work for the CIA as a plant in China, and they would never know. And
Well,
you
now
would
I
know
can never go
everything
back,
that's
Paul.
going on. It's just it's so amazing. You are such an American, of course you are American, that speaks fluent Mandarin. That is so. You were the last person in the world you'd ever think speaks
That's fine.
fluent
Yeah,
Mandarin.
I think it's funny. I went to school at Texas A&M, and then I went to California afterwards. And people would always speak Spanish to me. Mexicans would speak Spanish to me, Mandarin.
In Mandarin, yeah.
And people wouldn't know what to think. People think I'm Hispanic or Puerto Rican or something like that.
And you're fluent. I mean, perfect Chinese in Mandarin. It is so incredible.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you're the perfect spy. Who would ever suspect it? You could be sitting in a hotel in China, and you could be speaking with your Texas draw, your Oklahoma draw, and all that, and you understand everything that's going on.
It definitely comes in handy for negotiations. I took Paul to the Copy Mart, which is China makes everything, all the clothes and water bottles, and they sell it.
Yeah.
For the copies of them in the same place. So
yeah.
It's a blast.
Oh my God.
So, okay, let's get back on course. No.
Sorry. I had to do it.
No, but so I went over there. We did all this. There's so many business owners that are out there, and you help hundreds. No, you've helped thousands of people, right? And then I've helped my people and everyone I interact with and every contractor.
Right.
And the question that a lot of them have is it too late to pivot their business, or is it too late to change? And what's your answer to that, Paul?
The answer is how miserable it would be to lay on your deathbed and not having known that you tried. I mean, it's never too late. I mean, the thought of laying on your deathbed and saying, I wish I would have tried that. God, you have to try it. You cannot go through life without trying it, no matter where you are. That's what my answer is.
And that's the most perfect answer. For me, when I was sitting there listening, Paul gave me the enlightenment and the hope, and that was, hey, there's a way, and it's simple. Just do these things. And I was like, all right, I'll just try it. For me, I was in a situation where the company was going to implode, period. It was going to happen. So I had nothing to lose by trying. I don't care if I look bad. I kind of leveled with the managers, 26 managers, 26 people. They're all in their 40s and 50s, way more experience. I think I'm 27 at the time. And I'm asking them, hey, guys, we're going to try this, because if we don't, we're probably going to be out of business in 10 years or 5 years. So let's try it. It is not too late to pivot your business. What do you think stops people, Paul, from, people reach out to you all day? What do you think stops people?
The first thing that comes to mind, they're just satisfied. We're fat, dumb, and happy. Luxury makes you lazy. We've got it all too easy. There's no survival instinct left, and they're not disgusted with themselves because most people are thinking they're doing pretty good. They're making $100,000-$200,000 a year or whatever they're doing, and they got food, they got a nice new car. They're just satisfied. Luxury makes you lazy.
They're afraid to rock the boat.
I think that's the number one thing. I don't know if they're afraid to rock the boat. Why rock the boat? Right? I mean, why rock the boat? Things are pretty good. Why expend all that effort? Why take all that risk? Why take that chance when things are pretty good? So the answer to your question is things are pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a next section, and it is called Uncomfortable Questions. You ready?
Okay.
So you've made money now at this point in your life. What do you do with all of it?
Well, there are several things I do with it. The first thing that comes to my mind when you say that is I've got a very secure future, unequivocally, for myself and my family. But even beyond that, the platform that I've created has everything it needs to be sustained for generation after generation after generation. So one thing is immediate security, long-term security and sustainability for what we've created. And then the other thing I do with it, I spend millions of dollars helping people every year around the world. We give away everything for free. Everything I do is, I can't even tell you how much money I spend doing what we do, printing books, keeping the website up to date, all the videos, all the content.
And you have the succession plan in place to keep all of that going.
Yeah, right. And then, we give all of our products away to school districts all over North America. We try to help people. We try to help a lot of people, and as fluidly and selflessly as possible. I got a mosquito here I got to kill.
No, that's huge. So you kind of already answered the second question. And the reason I ask this to business owners is what I find when people reach out to hire me or ask me for help, I find that most of them are hand to mouth. And a lot of them, they're paycheck to paycheck, even though them and their business is paycheck to paycheck, or even worse, their business is paycheck to paycheck, and if it goes under, their whole family's ruined. So the question I have, and I'm asking this for the benefit, this will be a reoccurring question for everyone, is if you got in an accident, would your business survive? Right? Let's say something happened, and how long would your family be able to survive without it? Which I think you already answered, but.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a couple things on that. Number one, we're on the furthest end of the continuum on that end. There is no death.
The likelihood of it happening is
everything's
little.
Completely. We're so far on the other side, it's not even comprehensible. So that's one. And then the way we approached this was we set out early on as a goal from a financial standpoint. I had the best financial advisor in the whole world, Joel Netlin, my CFO, and now Dave is our CFO that took over for Joel after he retired. But they basically said, Paul, you need your company to be able to survive for about 3 years with nothing. And you should set a goal for having that kind of money put away that you could go on for years.
And that was the Great Recession, right? When you figured that out?
Yeah, exactly. It was going down. And so we always live very modestly. I'm not going to say how much money I make because nobody would believe me. But let's just say I make a fair amount of money, and more money than most people you've ever heard of before. I live on, $100,000 a year. I mean, I don't spend a lot. I'm very, very frugal. I used to have 2 airplanes, had $2 million worth of airplanes, AMPs, taking hangars, the whole 9 yards. I sold everything. I live very, very simply. Very, very, I don't want, first of all that stuff is just, it's a nuisance. You have to manage all that stuff, and you're not really any more free. And, 3 or 4 shirts, 3 or 4 pairs of underwear. Yeah. I mean, I'm a minimalist at a very high level. Not because I think it's virtuous, it's because it's just all that stuff's a pain in the butt to take care of.
Right. So you've already been successful at this, and I've never talked about money with you before. As you used money right now, money from your left pocket, right, which is your business. And the entire time you've moved the money to your right pocket, which is some other investment vehicle that sustains you and your business indefinitely, or you or your family indefinitely. Right.
So let's talk about making money. I think that's where you're going. How do you do it? What's the formula?
Yeah. I wasn't going to, but if you're going to tell me, I'm all ears.
Yeah. Well, I learned it all from my dad. My dad was an engineer, General Dynamics. Didn't make a lot of money, but he just invested in real estate. We had 3 rental properties. And so he told me, Paul, you need to have some rental properties. So my first property was in a barrio in Los Angeles in La Puente. My second one was in another bad neighborhood in Norway and Norwalk. And then my next one was in San Bernardino, a 4-unit apartment complex, and all in terrible neighborhoods. So I just started off slow, and we just created this reoccurring, income that came in. It was very modest. And I just kept buying a house for every year I was married. And, we became very, very successful with that model. By the time I was 30, I easily could have retired. We had lots of money and lots of income.
So it didn't really take very much to get started.
So that's how we did it. No, well, my first house was $49,000 in 203 North Winton. Look it up on the internet right now. 203 North Winton in La Puente, California.
203 North Winton?
Yeah. 203 North Winton, La Puente, California. Zoom in on that house. That was my first house, $49,000. It was a gang house. It was boarded up, and it was terrible. It was just so bad. It was unbelievable. So we took the boards off, and I put a little bit of money into it. Both my wife and I were school teachers at the time. I was an industrial arts teacher. And we fixed it up. We moved into it. The first night we moved into it, my parents were with us. There was gunshots everywhere. We were laid on the floor calling the police. And there was I think it was New Year's Eve or something. And they were, it was in a Spanish neighborhood, and they like to shoot their guns off. And so everyone was shooting guns off in the middle of the neighborhood. And that was our initiation. And that's how we started living. And we started off very humbly. And it worked. Did you find it?
$713,000. $713,444 is the value of that house right now.
You're lying.
I'm not lying to you because that's what I do. I took 2-second lien and I applied it to real estate. I retired a millionaire in 15 months. That's what the house is worth right now. $713,000.
And we paid $49,000 for it. It's just a little box. It's a little square box, right?
Yep.
Are you looking at it?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. The gangs tore down my fence because I reported them to the police. They were dealing drugs across the street, so they went and tore down my fence in my front yard. I mean, it was a tough road. But anyways, that's how I got started. And then when I started FastCap, I had the capital, by refinancing the homes and pulling some money out of it.
Which is a non-taxable event, by the way. You can't tax debt. So Paul he may have suddenly had $100,000 in his pocket to start the business, but he did not pay taxes on that.
Okay, good. And then here's another cool thing about that is not cool thing about it. The bank wouldn't give us any money to start the business because they don't want to give money to small businesses. Way too risky. So we had to finance it out of our own real estate. And then when we finally got to the point where we were so successful, remember I told you I was making $1 million a year and I wanted a $250,000 line of credit as a line of credit because, cash flow was tight from time to time, right? And so finally, when I was making a lot of money, the bank said they'd give me all the money I wanted, right? But they'll never give you the money when you need it. So the real estate helped me build the company.
That's huge.
Did I answer your question? Not that you asked that question.
No,
but that's
exactly
just real estate. And I'm
that's exactly
a school
right.
teacher. And we were school teachers.
So you even got really real estate. It's really interesting to me. Real estate got you started in business before you ever even got into business, that's super interesting.
Well, it didn't in that I was first a carpenter and first a general contractor doing work like that, and that really helped me because I could fix homes with my own hands. Right. So my first business was cutting grass, then selling flowers. And then after that, I became a general contractor, a woodworker, that kind of a thing. And then I started buying real estate the day we got out of college in 1983 when I graduated from college.
Yeah. So the main reason for this whole line of questioning, and we're about to move on to our next section, is because so many business owners focus only on running their business and they're not doing anything else, or they're not even conscious that they should be doing anything else with their money. And right now, if you're, I don't care, if you're a baker, if you're a pest control guy, you're a plumber somewhere, you can very easily, you have the income to go into your local area, no matter where you are in the world. I don't care if you're in the UK, Australia, Midwest, New York City, I don't care. You've got the funds because you are a small business owner to get a loan or something and qualify to go buy something in your area, right? It could be a small duplex, or, let's say you don't want to do that. You live in South Africa or something and you don't want to do real estate. Invest in something that's not your business, right? Maybe it's the S&P 500 index fund. Sure. Do something with your funds over, let's say you're in your business the next 30 years. Every year, every 2 months, every month, throw a little bit into a different bucket. So if something happens to your business, government comes in and takes it from you, right? COVID, you can do something.
I couldn't agree more.
So that was my one. Okay, future call to action.
Yeah.
What's one thing you wish your younger self knew starting this journey? Or what would you do different?
Well, two things come to mind when you say it. Number one, I always say if somebody just would have taught me what the 8 wastes were from the very beginning, and I would have understood, overproduction, transportation, inventory, defects, over processing, excess motion, customers waiting, and wasted employee potential. If I would have understood those from the day I came out of the womb, I might be running the country today, to be completely honest with you. That it would have made that profound a difference. The second thing as it came to mind is I wish I had a consistent mentor, one person that was really smart that I always went to get advice from consistently throughout the entire journey of life. Now, I've had many great mentors, Bob Taylor being my number one mentor, my father, my number one mentor, then Bob Taylor, Taylor Guitars being my next mentor. But I wasn't always drawing from Bob's wisdom. I was always drawing from my dad's wisdom, but I wasn't always drawing from Bob's wisdom because there was a time where we weren't communicating, not because there's anything wrong. He was just building his company, I was building my company, and then we came back together. And anyways, I just wish I had a consistent mentor all the way that I always went to. Okay, I'm going to go to Bob. Bob, what would you do in this case? Bob, what would you do in this case? I didn't establish someone. I pick up the phone, say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think?
That's huge. Huge advice. I don't think I really had mentors prior to knowing or meeting you. And I don't think that was even a formal thing.
What would it have been like? Well, what would it have been like? Imagine, Hugh, right now, you at 18 years old, and every time you had a question about life, you had that one person that was really smart, really capable, he had the goods to show that he was not just talk, but he actually did it all. What would it have been like if every time you had a question, you picked them up and you got solid advice?
I think
what would that have been like?
I'd probably would have I'd be quadruple the size I am now, and I probably would have reached there way early.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And that's what I think people need. People need a person. Pick up the phone. Hey, Bob, what do you think of this? Okay, good idea. Or just boom, boom, boom. Bob, what do you think of this? That one person just go to, Bob, what do you think of this? And have their act. That would be great. And that's who I try to be to people all over the world. So people contact me every day from all over the world, and then they ask me, what would you do about this? No problem. This is what I would do. I'm trying to be that
That's
person.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're lucky. And you, I don't know, what was the age of your parents and your father? What year was he born?
Well, what do you mean? God, isn't that terrible?
So my father was 6 years older than your father. And you were at 65, 63? And I'm 32 right now. So I did get the benefit of listening to the greatest generation, right? The people who made it through the Great Depression. And I think I had a heads up. I think more like people in their 60s than I do people in my age as millennials, also being world traveled. What's one piece of advice you would give, or this is what you just said, what you wish you knew. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out? Maybe they're 18, maybe they're 50 and they're like, oh crap, my business is going to fail.
That's easy. I want to think about it for just a minute, but that's easy. If you want to really just like set the world on fire and set your life on fire and just everything to go at the highest level, you need to start reading profusely books about historical figures who have changed the world. And you need to literally emulate what they have done. And if you did that and you got off your phone and quit screwing around or whatever you're doing there, and you made people like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and Adams and Madison and these figures, the bulwark of your knowledge, you'd be in a whole different plane. Winston Churchill. I could go on.
I love that. And there's a study out there. I don't know what it is, but basically the difference between salary income workers for high income workers, whether you work at W-2 or a business owner, is there's a correlation directly to how many books they read a year. And I think it's like if you read one book a month, you'd be in the top 1% of your profession, whatever that profession is. And books are insane. Books are crazy. Let's think about this. Let's say Paul Akers has several books. Paul's taken his life of wisdom and then he turned it into a book that's like a few pages, 70 pages or something. And then we can just glean all the things that he did and all the mistakes he made. Like, and you don't even have to listen to it. Just be aware of it.
Do that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And in my case, I did 6 books and all of them are about different elements of my life, whether it be my health, whether it be the way I travel all over the world because I'm constantly traveling everywhere, my life in general and my business, 2 Second Lean,
Nice.
It's all there.
What is one resource you wish you would have had at 18? A book or something that somebody can read. I'm going to go ahead and recommend 2 Second Lean, your book, but outside of your book, 2 Second Lean, which you should go right now and buy or for free listen to. What's something you...
Well, I'll tell you the book that I read that really, there were 2 books that really made a difference in my life. And one of them's very simple, The Richest Man in Babylon. Did you ever read that book?
Great book.
It's very small. Very small.
It was written in the 20s,
book,
about 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's basically about where do you get advice from. You need to pay attention to who you're going to get advice from and how to get advice and how to learn. So that book was profound. I mean, it started me on my journey. And why I'm so successful today is because of books like that. And then Tony Robbins' book, Awakening the Giant Within, had a profound impact on me too, because it gave me the courage to take risks that I would not normally have taken. And that was a big breaking point. I mean, to start FastCap was a big deal. It was not an easy thing to do what I did. I was pretty successful at that point. I had my general contracting business going, I had all my real estate going, and then all of a sudden I'm going to start this product development company. I mean, this is that's not normal. And at 37 years old, so everything was established, and I did an extreme pivot. And Tony Robbins' book gave me the courage
huge.
to do that.
I love that. I love that advice. And I don't know, entrepreneurs are a little crazy. So I think Henry Ford says it. He said, if people would have asked, if I would have asked the people what they wanted, he would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
We want faster horses. And
exactly.
To be an entrepreneur, you have to be like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I see a vision of some kind, and I'm just too stupid to follow it. I'm just going to keep following that vision. So that's huge. What is a call to action for what, that you wish people would do? For our guests, what would you say to inspire them or something to do?
Stop making excuses. The minute you say, well, yeah, but you've cut your legs out from underneath you. So I would say, Mike, the call to action is just every time you say, yeah, but you just suck that word back in and you go try. Just run the experiment and try. Try and learn. Stop making excuses and try and learn. Run the experiment.
A quick hack for that would be just just use the word how or what. What would it take to do that, or how would it do that? And it activates different parts of your brain. So say, I can't do that, but I can't do that. Or instead of saying, just say, well, actually, no, how would I do that? What would have to be true? What would have to be true for me to do that thing? Right. And where can people find out more about you, Paul?
Exactly. Yeah, paulakers.net. I got a great website. All my stuff's there, and you can go on YouTube and just go Paul Akers. I got a huge YouTube channel, lots of stuff going on there. And then, I've got chats all over the world with people from New Zealand to Canada to the UK that are all practicing 2 Second Lean. It's a global movement, and I could always put people involved in a chat, groups of people in their area.
Any last thing for the listener that you want to share before you leave?
Yeah. Life, if you want to have a great life, you only need to realize one thing. It's not about you.
That's huge. I love it. All right. Well,
help humanity, help society, help your country, help
get yourself to a point where you can help others. Honestly, the most successful businesses solve something for others. So exactly. I love it. All right. Well, Paul, thank you so much for being on. And it is absolutely a pleasure and a blast. I hope to have you on in the future. Again, maybe some more tactics, some specific stuff, and when you're going to release some more books, so we'll have you out to talk about those too.
Perfect.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Hugh.
As we wrap up another episode of Small Biz Rescue, Remember, your business dream does not have to be a solo journey. We are here to navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories and to provide you the tools you need to break free from entrepreneurial enslavement. Guys, if you're listening right now, you might have gotten value from this. And if you have, it'd be a huge thanks to go wherever you're listening to this from, rate and review this, give us a 5-star rating. We listen and read every single comment and are constantly updating the show. If you want to be on the show, shoot us an email at sbr@hughcarnahan.com. Guys, remember to stay tuned, to take action, keep pushing forward, because with the right steps and a bit of courage, anyone can transform their business and their life. Until next time, keep dreaming, fighting, and let's rescue your business together. Thanks for listening, and remember, next step to your business breakthrough is just an episode away. Woo!